it to fall, break. So I'm asking. It's good. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Padaya Krishna Pristaya Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Pasyatya Deshatarine Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhattavrinda Kiva Jaya Jaya Gaura Chande Arati Kashobha Janavi Tata Bani Jagamana Lobha Dakhirini Tai Chanda Vamega Dadhara Nikate Advaita Srini Vasachhatradhara Basi আছে গোরা চান রত্না সিমসানি আরতি করে না ব্রহ্মা আদি দেবগানে নারাহারি আদি করি চামারা দুলায়া Sanjaya Mukunda Basu Kosadi Gaya
Sankha baje, Ghanta baje, baje karatala. Madhura mridanga baje, Paramarasala. Sankha baje, Ghanta baje, Madhur madhur madhura baje. Madhura mridanga baje, Paramarasara baje. Nitai Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol. Bahu Koti Chandrajeni Vadana Ujala. Kala dese bana mala, Kori jala mala. Diva Sukha Narada Preme Gada Gada. Kakati Vinoda Dekhe Gorara Sampada. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Hare, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Kishore Kishori, Jaya Kishore Kishori, Jaya Kishore Kishori, Jaya Kishore Kishori. Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jagannatha, Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Jagannatha, Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल
जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिराजकार स्तोत्र श्रुतसिमल डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चरणारविंदेसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद की जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिराजकार स्तोत्र श्रुतसिमल डिवाइन ग्रेस शिल भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज शिल प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नामाचार्य शिल हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की ब्रजमय वृंदावन धाम की श्री क्षेत्र मायापुर धाम की गंगामय यमुनामय की भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की संवेद गौर भक्त वृंद की श्रील प्रभुपाद ट्रांसेंडेंटल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की हिताय गौर प्रेमानंदे all glories assembled devotees all glories assembled devotees all glories Shri Guru and Gauranga all glories Shri Prabhupada ki
Namaste, 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 Narasimhaya. Praladadaine. हिरण्यकशिपुरक्षः शीलटङ्कनकाराये हितो नरसिंहा परतो नरसिंहा यतो यतो यामि ततो नरसिंहा बाहे नरसिंहा हृदये नरसिंहा नरसिंहमतिं शरणं प्रपदे तव करकमलवरे नाका अद्भुतशृङ्गारललिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गा केशवदीता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश रे जय जगदीश रे जय जगदीश रे जगदीश रे जय जगदीश रे जय जगदीश रे नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रभुपादा 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 जय प्रभुपादा नित्याय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्याय गौर हरि बोल
Hare
Hare Krishna. So we welcome all of you on behalf of our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada for our weekly Sunday Feast Love program. So this year, as most of you know, we have a specific theme for the Sunday lecture, and the theme is going back to basics. So we will be discussing on this theme from Bhagavad Gita as it is. Bhagavad Gita is a scripture which talks about how to live in this material world but not be of this world. So we have a very interesting theme. So we encourage all of you to please come every Sunday and hear about Bhagavad Gita. So today we have His Grace Vrajpati Prabhu who will be speaking on this theme. Let us loudly welcome him by chanting Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. So a couple of other announcements. We would like to make sure that those parents who have kids, they are monitored. So if you have kids, don't just leave them so that they don't wander around. And if they do wander, make sure you are with them. So this is very important. And anybody here for the first time in the temple? You can just raise your hands. Loud, can I see it? So please make sure after the class is over, we have a small gift for you. We'd like to give it to you. So just stay in the temple room and one of our volunteers will come and offer you a gift. Thank you very much. Now we will hear from Vrajpati Prabhu. Hare Krishna. If you have your cell phones, please make sure you put them on silent mode so that they don't disturb your neighbors and also the speaker who's speaking. Hare Krishna.
Can you hear me? Okay, there. Hare Krishna. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari We'll start with some auspicious prayers before we start. So those who know can chant, and those who don't know can see me after the class, and I can send you those prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay. Okay. So, as His Grace Balaram Prabhu said, the theme for this month is Introduction to Bhagavad Gita and back to basics. A lot of you must be familiar with Bhagavad Gita. Is there anybody who does not know or haven't heard of Bhagavad Gita? Or the first time you're hearing about Bhagavad Gita? Okay. All right. That's good. What we're going to do is still, even though all of you know about Bhagavad Gita, okay, thank you. There's one person who this class is for. So there's a lot of details today we're going to discuss about Bhagavad Gita. And actually, how many of you have read Bhagavad Gita? Okay. So for you guys also, this class may be relevant. Some of the content we will discuss is what is, yeah, I mean, as the title says, what's there in Bhagavad Gita for me? And I wanted to cover a little bit of basics about what is Bhagavad Gita, and then dive in a little bit into what is there in the different sections of Bhagavad Gita, so that we kind of know what is in there, as well as try to remember whenever somebody asks us, what is Bhagavad Gita, what is in Bhagavad Gita, we're going to go over a little mechanism of remembering what is there in each chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so a little formula. So let's dive in. Some of you may know there is 700 verses in Bhagavad Gita, and they were spoken on a battlefield of Kurukshetra, when in the epic Mahabharata it's described that when the battle, I mean on the battlefield, there's Pandavas on one side and Kauravas on the other side of the battlefield. And our hero of Bhagavad Gita is Arjuna, and he is about to fight this battle. And Pandavas and Kauravas are related, they're cousins, and they're fighting each other. So, I don't want to dig into the details of why they're fighting, because that's whole Mahabharata for you. And but they're fighting now on the battlefield, huge battle, one of the biggest battle ever known to us. And while they're fighting, this song, Bhagavad means God, Lord, and Gita means song. The song of Lord is what Bhagavad Gita is. It's spoken to Arjuna by Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, what's interesting is there's 575 verses that's spoken by Lord Krishna, and of those, in that song, 200 of those verses, Krishna is telling Arjuna how to come to him, how to reach his abode. So you can say this is kind of a love letter from Krishna to Arjuna, because he's constantly asking him or telling him how to come to his abode. Okay? And so why is Bhagavad Gita so famous, right? There's 500 million copies sold around the world of Bhagavad Gita today. And it's 5,000-year-old epic, and the song was spoken 5,000 years. So I'm calling this technology because using Bhagavad Gita, a lot of people are able to fix their lives. Using Bhagavad Gita, a lot of people are able to fix them. That's why I'm calling this technology, and we're going to know more about how they're going to fix their lives and what is there in Bhagavad Gita and so on. But in this day and age, where a 5-year-old iPhone 7 is not relevant anymore, right? 5,000-year technology is still being used by a lot of people. And we're going to dig in and see why it was relevant then when this was spoken to Arjuna, and why it's relevant now. Okay? So one thing to note is, when it was spoken, Arjuna was, he was super excellent in his skills of, war. And he'd never lost a battle. He's the greatest warrior of all time. And he knew how to fight, but at the point when this chariot is driven in front of his grandfather Bhishma, who's fighting from the other side, and his teacher Drona, he breaks down. He breaks down and he starts questioning the purpose of the whole fight. And many a times we are in this situation of confusion and dilemma. And this is exactly the situation in which Arjuna is right now. And Krishna is going to take him out of that situation And this is why it's so important for all of us also. And we're going to see why it's, more relevant for us, and how can we, take that relevance and see if we can implement some of the teachings of Krishna to Arjuna in our own lives as well. But before we go into the relevance, a lot of times we take Bhagavad Gita, and when I said, when I asked about how many people have read Bhagavad Gita, a lot of people have Bhagavad Gita, but they don't read Bhagavad Gita. So it's not meant for keeping it on the altar and worshipping. A lot of people, when you take a Bhagavad Gita and go to distribute, they say like this, or they're worshipping with their hands and stuff like that. There's nothing wrong in worshipping Bhagavad Gita, but it's meant to be read. Yeah, because it's a gift for all of us from the Lord. Okay, and then it's not a religious book. A lot of people think that this is another religious book. It's not. It's a manual for life. Okay, Bhagavad Gita is a manual for life, so it is not a religious book. Okay. Let's talk about the relevance. So when we consider the battlefield, and when we just consider Bhagavad Gita as something that was spoken to Arjuna, we're going to miss a lot of things when we read Bhagavad Gita. But if we change the perspective a little bit, and if we consider Arjuna as us in our human form, right, with all our doubts and worries and habits, he represents you and I as we stand on the battlefield of life, facing all the different parts of ourselves that prevent us from realizing our true nature. Okay, so Arjuna in the battle is us. Let's assume that. Krishna is Krishna. He's the super soul or the divine speaking these instructions to us. The Pandavas are the great virtues within us, which is the good qualities within us. The Kauravas, who are the opposing forces within us, right? How many of you know how many Pandavas were there? Can you all see the presentation? If you want to see the presentation, we can shift over there if you can find space. But 5, right? Pandavas. 5 Pandavas. 5 good qualities. How many Kauravas were there? 100, right? So naturally, there's a lot of bad qualities versus good qualities in us as well, right? And the chariot is our physical body, and the horses are the 5 senses, which when guided by the charioteer, who's Krishna, if it's skillfully guided and controlled by the self, in order for us to be able to realize our true nature. Okay, so this is a little perspective change. Rather than reading Bhagavad Gita as something that is given to like Arjuna by Krishna, if we change the perspective to where we are the seeker, or we are the ones in the confused place, then Bhagavad Gita, the whole Bhagavad Gita will be a completely different, scripture for you. Okay, the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita can be, it can give you purification, protection from Maya. We're going to come to what Maya is. It can correct us when we make mistakes. It can give us complete satisfaction. And it can give us conviction on who's the Lord and build our faith. Okay, because Krishna gives a lot of information on who He is as well. And also, Krishna says He takes 3 things away when you read Bhagavad Gita. What are those 3 things? One is fear, which is bhaya. He's going to take away bhaya. He's going to take away greed, which is moha. And He's going to take away grief, which is dukkha or shoka. Okay, so He's going to take away these 3 things when we read Bhagavad Gita. And fear, normally, if you consider like in a daily life, these 3 things are something that we always fight with or struggle with. Fear of something, we always struggle with the fear of losing something that I have, I'm possessive about. Fear of losing something or someone, right? We're always afraid of that. Second is greed. I want something. I need something. I'm always after something. We're all, working because we want something, right? We're all doing something because we want something. And then grief, if I don't get something, right? If I don't get that, want, then I'm going to be in grief. Bhagavad Gita provides information related to birth, death, and everything in between. Okay? This world and beyond this world. What is there beyond this birth? What is there after the death? Why are we suffering? How does karma work? There's detailed explanation of karma. Why do good things happen to bad people? Or bad things happen to good people, right? And equips a devotee with tools for reacting and responding to situations. It's not just because you read Bhagavad Gita, tomorrow there's going to be special, like people walking around you and going to protect you from everything. It's not. You're going to go through the same situations again tomorrow, after reading Bhagavad Gita. But what you will get is the tools and understanding of why you're going through that situation and how can you handle that situation. Suppose it's raining, the rain is not going to, stop from falling on you, but fall everywhere else. But it will give you intelligence to carry an umbrella when you go outside. Suppose there is mud outside, it will give you intelligence to wear the shoes and go outside. Bhagavad Gita will equip you with intelligence to deal with situations in your life. Transformation. So there's a saying that there's enough for everyone's need in this world, but not enough for one man's greed. Enough for everyone's need, but not enough for one man's greed. So when you read Bhagavad Gita, the greed is taken away and you will only work for your needs and not for your wants. Everything is temporary in this world and except the soul and the super soul within us. So we have to understand that everything in this world is temporary. That's a big understanding that comes out of reading Bhagavad Gita. And everything belongs to Krishna and everything will be taken away from us one day. Okay, so there was a story where a monk was approached by a person and he was asked, why don't you feel like committing sins? Because I commit like sins every day, like I commit like papa every day. How do you not commit sins every day? Then this monk says, well, leave it aside, but I see on your forehead that you're going to die in 7 days, So that person is like, he's really grateful that he got this information. This is like powerful monk. He can see something. So he goes back running home, works on his insurance and stuff, takes care of his family, tells them everything and like make sure that all the will and everything is signed and so on. So on the 6th day, the monk goes to his home and he asks him, how many sins did you do on the past 6 days? So he said, since I'm like worried about, like when I'm going to leave this world, how can I commit sin? And at that point, the monk says, you're not going to die tomorrow. I just wanted to give you a lesson of when you are actually aware of, everything in this world, including this body, is temporary. You're not going to work on committing sins. You're not going to work on enjoying this life, but you're going to work on how to get out of this life, how to make sure that this body that you have is the last one in this world. Okay, so it's really important that everything, to understand that everything, including our lives, because we always live like there's no tomorrow. We always live like there's no death. We always see, Yudhishthira Maharaj was asked that, what is the most amazing thing that you've ever seen? And he says, even though everybody's seeing the other person die, the most amazing thing is that that person is living like there's no tomorrow. So we have to be aware that death is certain as birth. Okay, that is one lesson that's coming from Bhagavad Gita. So before we dig into, so this is the part where we get into a little bit about Bhagavad Gita. What does each chapter, have in more detail, and so on and so forth. So I wanted to give you a little perspective on what we're going to discuss and how Krishna is dividing these instructions that he's giving to Arjuna. Okay, so there's 18 chapters in Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so we're going to see in sets of 6 chapters, because that's how Krishna is like very intelligently giving this information to Arjuna. So mind you, Arjuna is on a battlefield and he's struggling with what to do. Just like I mentioned the bad dog and the good dogs, the bad and the good. Like when Bhaktitirtha Maharaj was asked, there's like 2 dogs fighting, and he was asked, he asked Sachinandan Maharaj, which one do you think will win? And Maharaj was like, okay, there's 2 dogs fighting. I don't know which one's going to win. He couldn't get the question. Then he said, the one you feed is the one that's going to become strong and it's going to win. So there's a good dog and bad dog in all of us. The one we're going to feed is always going to win. Okay. So let's take a look at the different chapters here. And for this, we're going to take, for each of the 6 chapters, we're going to take different analogies and try to understand what is there in the 6 chapters or set of 6 chapters that is there. Okay, so let me go here and then give you a quick summary snapshot. So let's say a person, for the first 6 chapters, we're going to take a person who's hit amnesia and he's forgotten everything in his life. Okay, he's starting from ground zero. Okay, let's go back. Chapter 1. Chapter 1, as we discussed, Arjuna is lamenting at this point. He's saying, I'm now unable to stand here any longer. I'm forgetting myself. My mind is reeling. I can only see causes of misfortune. And he says, O Krishna, killer of the Keshi demon, I do not see how any good can come from killing of my own kinsmen in this battle, nor can I, my dear Krishna, desire any subsequent victory, kingdom, or happiness. Okay, so this chapter in Bhagavad Gita as it is titled as Arjuna Vishada Yoga, or where Arjuna is lamenting basically. Okay, so this one word for us, keyword in this chapter, is lamentation, because we know clearly that Arjuna is lamenting because he cannot fight. Okay, then obviously when we forget everything, we also lament, right? When we are going through amnesia, it's first thing we start with is lamentation. We try to lament and say, I can't figure out who am I and stuff like that, right? So the next one is Krishna is giving us identity. Okay, the keyword for the second chapter is identity. In this chapter, Krishna is saying, Dehinosmin yata dehe kaumaram yavanam jara tata dehantara praptir dhiras tatra namuhyati. He is telling Arjuna, you're lamenting for something that you should not be even worried for. Drona and Bhishma, they have old bodies. Your true identity is that of a spirit soul. And you're lamenting for this body, and they're going to lose that body anyway. And you're lamenting for their body. Okay, so, and he says, as the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, soul similarly passes into another body at death. The self-realized soul is not bewildering by such a change. So Krishna is telling, what is our real identity? That real identity is that of a soul and not this body. I am not this body. You are not this body, Arjuna. And neither is Bhishma or Drona or all these Kauravas who are standing on the opposite side. Okay, and for the soul, there's never birth or death, nor having once been does ever cease to be. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, undying, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. So there's no death for the soul when the body dies. Okay, it just takes another body. Okay. Najayate mriyate va kadachin nayam bhutva bhavita na bhuyaha ajo nitya shashvateyam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire. Okay, so even if the body, sharira means body, even if the body dies, there's no death to the soul. So he's established the identity, right? So when you lose your complete like memory because of or consciousness because of amnesia, first thing is you lament. Second thing is you get an ID. Krishna is giving you an ID card, saying, "Here it is, Arjuna, you're the soul," or to us, right? Then the next thing is when we lose our ID, and I mean when we lose everything, the next thing we need to know is like, what am I going to do, right? Our duty or job. So in third chapter called Karma Yoga, Krishna is establishing what Arjuna should be doing. Okay, so in that he says work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu. So basically Krishna is recruiting him. Okay, work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work binds one to material world. So we're going to continue in this cycle of birth and death if we don't, do our work with Krishna in mind. Okay, if we don't do it as a sacrifice for Vishnu. So therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction, and in this way, you will always remain unattached or free from bondage. Okay, so this is the chapter where he's giving what work he should be doing. Okay, what work Arjuna or one who's lost all his identity should be doing. Karma Yoga, right? So, amnesia, and we start with lamentation, then identity, and the third chapter was duty or job, Karma Yoga. Okay. Then the fourth chapter is titled Transcendental Knowledge. Srila Prabhupada is titling this chapter as Transcendental Knowledge. Okay. So when you get a job, obviously you need knowledge and skills that you've lost memory of, right? You've lost all the memory. So you need to know the knowledge. So Krishna is giving you the knowledge, or him the knowledge of how one should do their duty. So he says, one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take this birth again and this material world, but attains my eternal abode. Okay. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti so Arjuna. So there is no birth again, he's guaranteeing that. And then just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. He's also telling where to get that knowledge from. You cannot just, read Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam and get that knowledge, but you need someone to teach you that knowledge. So normally when you have books, somebody gives you like college books and says, just study and then, you can pass the exam. Maybe you'll be able to pass the exam here, but Krishna is saying that you need a teacher. In general also, we go to universities, we get a teacher, we get a degree and so on, right? So we need a teacher to understand the transcendental knowledge also. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadikshanti te jnanam jnanidastatvadarshanaha. So this is the one where he's saying you need a spiritual master. What was the title for the fourth chapter? Knowledge. Okay, so you need knowledge. So going back to our example, after we get a job, we need the knowledge of how one should, or skill one should have, right? Then in the fifth chapter, Krishna is telling what is the result of working for him. Okay, so he says, the sages, knowing me as the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attain peace from the pangs of material miseries. So for those of you, anybody facing a problem? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, everybody, yeah? Everybody. I thought it was just me. So everybody's facing one kind of a problem or the other, right? So Krishna is saying, in order to attain peace, this is the result you will get. The peace is what you will get as a result of working for him, or working, giving that sacrifice, or whatever he mentioned in third chapter. He's giving that result. Bhaktaram yabna tapasam sarva loka maheshwaram. So everything is dedicated to the Lord as a sacrifice. So one can ask, hey, I'm working in an IT job. How am I going to give that as a sacrifice to Krishna, right? So Krishna is going to answer that in the coming chapters. So you can look for that. So chapter 6. We are at chapter 6, Dhyana Yoga. It's titled Dhyana Yoga by Srila Prabhupada. And in this chapter, Krishna is asking how to be a perfectionist in that job by thinking. Okay, 647. So thinking or dhyana, thinking is the same thing. So thinking of Krishna or meditating on Krishna is the keyword. Thinking is the keyword for this chapter. So remember the keyword for this chapter. The fifth chapter was result. Fourth was knowledge, right? Third was duty or job. Second was identity. First was lamentation. Exactly. Okay, so you're with me. Thank you for being with me. So this concludes the 6th chapter. Okay, one set. The theme was amnesia. Everybody remembers the 6 chapters. Okay. Next, we're going to change the theme a little bit. Okay, and we're going to understand. Sorry. We're going to understand how or what is the content of the next 6th chapter. Where is Krishna taking us next? Okay. So if you considered the whole theme of first 6 chapters, it's all about us, right? And Krishna is telling like how you get remembrance, how you get an ID, how you get knowledge, all those things, right? Next 6 chapters, Krishna is going to focus on Krishna. He's going to tell all of us about different aspects and why one should be working for Krishna. Okay, and if we go to our summary, the theme is a job offer. Remember, Krishna offered a job for us in 3rd chapter, right? He said, work for me. So now he's giving you that offer. And he's going to say what all is included in that offer. Okay? Let's go back. All right. You got the job. And let's see 7th chapter. Okay? 7th chapter is called Knowledge of the Absolute. And just to give you a quick overview of why this is, why when I say he's only talking about Krishna or something like that. Knowledge of the absolute in Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st chapter, Srila Prabhupada says absolute means Krishna. It's not different from Krishna. Okay, so knowledge of Krishna, the first one, and then second one is attaining the supreme. Who's supreme? The Lord Krishna. Third chapter is the most confidential knowledge of whom? Krishna. Opulence of the Absolute. Who is the Absolute? 11th chapter is universal form of who? And then last one is devotional service. Unto who? Krishna. So he's talking about in this set of chapters how one can work and what is the result, like how one can attain the results in this particular set of chapters. So in the first chapter, the keyword is boss, right? When you join a company, you need to know who's the CEO, right? Who's the boss of the company. So he's going to explain a little bit about what what are the qualifications, what he has to offer, and so on. Who's the boss, and so on. So Vedaham samatitani vartmanani cha arjuna bhavishyani cha bhutani mam tu vedana kaschana. So, O Arjuna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, all things that are yet to come. He mentioned this in 4th chapter also, but he's saying that he is aware of everything that has happened with us, with our lives in the past, present, and in the future. How many of you remember what you ate 2 days ago for dinner? You do remember, yeah? There's a few people who raise hands. But it's so difficult for us to like remember what, I mean, I don't remember what I ate yesterday, forget about 2 days ago. But Krishna is saying that he remembers past time of each and every person, not just but in this lifetime, but in all the millions of lifetimes we've taken. Such is the amazing supremacy of the Lord. Okay? And he says, those in full consciousness of me, who know me, the Supreme Lord, to be the governing principle of the material manifestation. You can see how Krishna is there in the Kshirodakshay form, and how, through his like different pores of the body, there's a lot of universes created here. So he's the governing principle of material manifestation of the demigods and of the methods of sacrifice, can understand and know me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even at the time of death. Okay, so we'll come to the part of remembering him at the time of death. But here he's saying how he's responsible for all creation and how everything is balanced by him. Right? I mean, you can see every day that the whole of this universe is actually balanced by who? By the Lord, right? I mean, there's planets in the galaxies which are like, rotating as though they're like controlled by somebody, right? Who's that controller, right? I mean, we can say gravity, we can give all scientific explanation, but, the whole explanation of Big Bang Theory is that there was an explosion and there was something like this amazing things created, right? That's the explanation. I've never read anywhere that there was a big explosion and there was a hospital created there, right? Or a big explosion and a temple was created somewhere. How can something so amazing be created by an explosion or by Big Bang, right? So Krishna says in this chapter that he's the one who's balancing the creation, the universes, the galaxies. And we fail to appreciate all this creation. We don't appreciate the sunshine, we don't appreciate the air that we breathe, we don't appreciate the water that we drink every day. We're not grateful every day for these things, right? We just take them for granted, right? Once there was a person, he had a pet dog, okay, and he took this pet dog on a run, and he was running with it, and then he had a ball, so he was throwing the ball, and the dog was fetching it, coming back to him and giving it to him, and so on. And then he was throwing it again, it was coming back and give it to him. And then at some point, he there was like this water body, so it was like a pond or a lake or something. So he threw the ball, and he was thinking that the dog will swim and get the ball and come back. Okay? So he threw the ball, and the dog, instead of swimming, it walked on the water, got the ball, and came back and gave it to him. And he did that again, and again, this time it walked on the water, and it came back and it gave it to him. He was so surprised. He was like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. I should tell it to everybody, and this is so amazing. So he was so amazed by that fact. And then he goes to his neighbor and he says, I need to show you something. Let's go for a walk. So he's going and he's again the next day he's throwing the ball and then the dog's getting it back and so on. The neighbors are walking and it's a new pet dog, so he was appreciating this pet dog and so on. So when they go near the water, this guy throws the ball and the dog walks on the water, gets the ball back, and to his surprise, the neighbor is not surprised. And he throws the ball again, and the dog comes back with the ball, again walks on the water, and it comes back, and he's not surprised. So this guy asks, "Hey, do you notice something different here?" So the neighbor says, "Yeah, I see that your dog cannot swim." See? So when we don't appreciate, and if we don't have the eyes to appreciate the Lord's gift, right? This is what happens. I mean, we really need to appreciate the gifts that we have on a daily basis, right? I'm gonna again, Bhagavad Gita opens our eyes towards those gifts. So we can. I'm gonna share another story related to this and Bhagavad Gita a little later if we have time, but we have a few more chapters 10 more chapters to go. So let's take a look at what Krishna is telling Arjuna in his job offer, right? So he's telling him, he's giving him insurance in this chapter, okay? So insurance is the key word here. What was the previous chapter? He's the boss. And this time he's explaining about benefits and insurance that he can get. So he's saying, Antakaricha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram. And whoever at the time of death quits this body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. And he says, from the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. He's assuring that this is the insurance he's giving. You're not going to take birth again, right? And those who are his devotees, he's giving that insurance to him. Okay. So first was boss, second was insurance. 9th chapter, the most important chapter in Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So, and also it's titled the most confidential knowledge. Okay. So the key word here, what's confidential in a company? Passwords, right? So the password that he's giving, it's open to all here, is bhakti. Okay? The open password that he's giving is bhakti. There's so many verses Krishna talks about, bhakti in this chapter, and he says this is the peak of, Bhagavad Gita, the best chapter of Bhagavad Gita. He says, Man mana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyashi yuktavam atmana matparayanaha. Engage your mind always in thinking of me. Very simple steps. Okay? Hard to do, but very simple steps. Offer obeisances, this is simple. Worship me, simple. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. It's a very simple process, paying obeisances to the Lord every day or worshipping Him. It's not very difficult, okay? And thinking of Him, it's not very difficult once we practice. But those who worship me, Ananyas Chintayanto Mam, with devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, for them, I carry what they lack and preserve what they have. This is an assurance he's giving also in this chapter. So he's saying that I carry what they have. So you're going to lose nothing, right? I mean, preserve what they have and carry what they lack. So I'm going to give them what they lack and preserve what they have already also. So it's a bonus again. So most confidential knowledge is password. Okay, chapter 10 is titled the opulences of the absolute. So Krishna is gonna give a lot of verses here where he says, like, of the mountains, I'm Himalayas, and so on and so forth. Like, he gives a lot of examples which we can relate to where Krishna manifests. Okay, but there are 4 verses in this chapter that are called the Chatur Shloki, or the core verses of entire Bhagavad Gita. Even if you can't read the whole Bhagavad Gita, if you read these 4 verses, Chatur Shloki verses, I think you will, almost get the whole gist of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so of those 2, I chose 2 here, but 8, 9, 10, and 11 are the 4 verses, 10th chapter. The thoughts of my pure devotees. So he's saying how his devotees behave in this chapter. That's why the key word here is devotees or bhaktas. Last one was bhakti, the password was bhakti, and this one he's explaining the bhaktas. So the thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me, their lives are fully devoted in my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another, conversing about me. So he's describing what the devotees do, what his devotees do. Okay, what the employees of this job offer that he's offering to Krishna do, to Arjuna, what are you going to do? Okay. As part of the job offer, he's also saying that he's showing his universal form to Arjuna. Okay, so as part of the job offer, he's saying, we have locations in this universe, here, there, as part of the job. So, and then there's also like a local office here. So he's going to show the second form, which is the Narayana form, okay, which is the 4-handed form. And at the end of the chapter, he shows the 2-handed Shyamasundar form with his flute in his hand to Arjuna on the battlefield. Okay, so he shows the universal form, which is depicted here, and then he shows the Narayana form, and then finally he shows the 2 hands. So that's why it's called the 3 forms. The keyword is 3 forms. Okay, and then chapter 12, he is giving the KPIs to Arjuna. KPIs are key performance indicators in a company. So what are the things, qualifications that make an employee the best employee, or the best of best employees, right? So he's giving those key indicators. So in the last section of this chapter, he's giving the KPIs, where he's saying who is the most dear to him, most dear devotee to him, and who is the most very dear devotee to me, very, very dear devotee to me. He's giving that classification. So that's the key performance indicators, or we can also call it Krishna Prema indicators, KPIs. Okay, so that summarizes the 6 chapters, set of 6 chapters in between. And then the last 6 chapters, we're going to change the theme a little bit again. And that is how to escape from a prison. So Krishna is talking about Dukhalayam Ashashvatam. In Bhagavad Gita, he says how this world is a world of suffering. If you don't believe Krishna, go to Google News, and I can challenge you, if you go and see what is happening in the world today, the first set of 10 news highlights will be either war in Russia, something, floods in California, Mr. Biden is in trouble. One way or the other, there is suffering in the world, and it's always been highlighted in the news channel. So if you don't trust Krishna, that this is a world of suffering, and if you trust Google more, you can go to Google News and check this out. Okay, so chapter 13, let's start with the prison house and how Krishna, let's say, you join the company and there is for some reason you're in a prison and you need to get out of this prison. So Krishna is giving you this escape plan to go out of the prison. Okay, so let's see what he says in 13th chapter. So 13th chapter, he gives the concept of Paramatma, or the super soul who is in the heart. Okay, and he says, yet in this body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as the overseer, the permitter, and who's known as the super soul or Paramatma. So he gives the concept of Paramatma to Arjuna, and this lawyer is in our heart, always telling us what is the right. I mean, some people call it intuition, but that's actually Paramatma telling you whether it's right or wrong, or whether this you're permitted to do something or not, and so on. So, 13th chapter, he's giving first way to get out is get a lawyer of the prison. Second way is he's saying, again, Krishna is giving some knowledge about what is happening in this prison or the material world that we are in. Okay, we are always controlled by three modes of nature. What are the three modes? Yes, there is three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And these you can say are the three bars in a prison cell. Okay, so he's going to give tools to us to cut those bars and get out of the prison. Okay, so that he says, one who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends the mode of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. So he's saying how one can transcend the three modes of material nature. So we're always acting in one or the other mode. Either we are acting in the mode of ignorance, either we are influenced by mode of passion sometimes, or in the mode of goodness. You can always see that we are never acting always in the mode of goodness. Maybe one mode is more, like we could be a little more in the mode of goodness than passion, but you can see that we're always like shifting between, and that means that we're controlled by these three modes all the time. Okay, so let's go back. So we had a lawyer, cut the bars, or the next one is Krishna's handing you an escape map, right? And then saying that, okay, this is how you can get out. And that is the Vedas. Okay, so he's saying, Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto mattasritis danam ahapohanam cha vedescha sarvair ahameva vidyo. So that is, I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all Vedas, I am to be known. Okay, so he's giving the Vedas so we can understand who is Krishna. Okay, so that is the other way of escape plan, is the other way of escape map, is the other way of getting out. Then the other thing he's saying is understand the nature of the prison inmates. Okay, there's demoniac people and there's divine people. So make friends with the divine people, and you can get out easily. But if you make friends with the demoniac people, you're gonna your stay in the prison is going to be extended. Okay, so he's saying understand your inmates and make association with only those who are divine. Okay, so he describes the divine and demoniac nature. Then finally, in 17th chapter, he gives the key. Okay, all this is not working for you? No problem. Take the keys. And what is the key? In this chapter, he gives the key of Om Tat Sat. Okay, the last three verses of 17th chapter describes Om, Tat, and Sat. Okay, the key for attaining the Supreme Lord. So he says, therefore, transcendentalists undertaking performance of sacrifice. You would have noticed that a lot of mantras begin with the word Om, right? So this is the word he's talking about. Undertaking performance, sacrifice, charity, and penance in accordance with the spiritual regulations begin always with Om. Okay? And Tat means without desiring fruitive results. Okay? And lastly, when you perform that sacrifice, who is it you're doing for? The absolute truth is the objective of devotional sacrifice, and it is indicated by the word Sat. Okay? Shri Shri Kishore Kishori ki jai, Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maya ki jai, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai. Okay, so that was the key. Okay, let's say you cannot break the bars. Okay, you cannot hire a lawyer. You cannot follow the escape map. Okay, you don't know how to read or write. Okay, and then you cannot also use the key because the sacrifices or the Om Tat Sat is very difficult for you. Okay, let's say all this is difficult. Then Krishna says, no matter if you can do all those things, then there's one thing that you can do, that is surrender unto me. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tavam sarva papebhyo mokshashyami ma shuchaha. That means you can surrender unto me and I will take care of you. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. Last week, Srila Rompad Swami Maharaj was stressing upon Ma Shuchaha, right? Do not fear. So, if you can do anything, you can do just this one thing, which is surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord. Okay, let's quickly summarize and we're gonna make sure that we all remember the keywords, okay? Yeah. So, all right. So, let's do the amnesia part. First chapter, second chapter, third chapter, fourth chapter, fifth chapter, sixth chapter. And who is Krishna talking about here? Us. Okay. Second one, job offer. Seventh chapter, eighth chapter, ninth chapter, 10th chapter, 11th chapter, 12th chapter, KPI. Okay. Last chapter, how to get out. Last set, how to get out of this material world. Okay. Ready? 13th chapter, 14th chapter, 15th chapter, 16th chapter. Oh, I have a typo on all two. 17th chapter, 18th chapter, Jai Ho. So this is how we get out of. So I got this from His Grace Ikshwaku Prabhu. He's ISKCON congregation ministry personnel, and he shared this, kind of like keywords to use for reading Bhagavad Gita. I found it very useful, and I wanted to share it with you guys today. So with that, we come to the end of this class. I know we are a little over time. So thank you everybody for listening on. And if you need this material, we can send it to you. But please see if you can read Bhagavad Gita, because reading Bhagavad Gita is super important for us, because it's like I said in the beginning, it's a manual for life. Imagine like when that baby was born, instead of parents giving a name and like the baby identifying with the name and then the body and then going to work and then identifying with the company and the boss and the title that is given to the baby, the person at that time, all that, if they were given the life manual on how to live, when the baby was born, there's no way we will be suffering in this material world. So please read this life manual. If you already have it, please read it. If you don't have it, please get it from the gift store. And if you already have read it, give it to your friends. Make sure their lives is sublime and blissful as yours. And please read Bhagavad Gita. I had another story, but that's for next time. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Collect from.
Oh, yeah. Those who are new, please collect your gift today before leaving. And the prasadam is upstairs. So going through these stairs, out these doors to your right, prasadam is ready for all of you. Thank you so much again. And then there will be kirtan after prasadam. Please rush down at 7 o'clock. We'll start with kirtan. Right now we'll have kids kirtan, and then 7 to 8 we have kirtan again. So please come back.
Can you get that? Hare Krishna. Little more. You have to go little that side. Put your.
I don't know. Oh yes. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitina Mine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shanyavadi Paschatadeshata Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, oh Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol.
I don't know that soon. I'm just learning. I don't. I don't know what to play. I'm just gonna play something right now. Huh? Yeah. Yeah. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare 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 Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Hare
Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Nitai Gauranga Jaya, Nitai Gauranga. Nitai Gauranga Jaya, Nitai Gauranga. Nitai Gauranga Jaya, Gaura Hari. Gaura, Gaura, Gaura Hari. Gaura, Gaura, Gaura Hari. निताय गौरांग जय गौर हरे जय किशोर किशोरी जय किशोर किशोरी जय किशोर किशोरी जय किशोर किशोरी जय गौरानिताय 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 जय गौरानिताय जय जगन्नाथ जय जगन्नाथ बलदेव जय सुभद्रा जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय हरि नाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की जय गौर प्रेमानंदी हरि हरि बोल
Nice.